Alright, so we're back into another Dragon Ball Super card game video. So this one, I'm gonna do a bunch of smaller videos, I guess, and talk about different things within the game that I think you should kind of pay attention to, or at least we should kind of talk about. And one of the things I do want to bring up before I start is that I do have the new sponsorships out right now. The join button's at the top right, at the bottom right of this video, right below the subscribe button. So definitely check that out if you'd like to join. That would be awesome. Basically today I want to go ahead and talk through the Forgotten Archetypes, and after kind of researching and going through all the stuff that I wanted to go through, there's actually a lot of archetypes that we really don't play within the format. And obviously, yes, the format changes all the time, but you know, in a perfect world, you can probably play any archetype and it will actually do pretty decently. Like you would go X1, X2 into an event or whatever. But some of these archetypes don't really even do that. You play the archetype, you try to do as much as possible with that archetype, and it still doesn't actually perform well. And I think that's kind of an issue for some of this stuff. And I think Bandai pays attention with that, with the anniversary box, the expansion sets, all this other stuff, and I'll kind of talk about that in a little bit. But here's how it's gonna go. I'm going to talk through one archetype, what is it, and then what could make it better. The first one is actually Buuhan, one of the ones that, I mean, honestly, Buuhan actually has a lot of support when you really think about it. Like when you look at all the Buu cards, if you look at all the Gohans, which we don't have too many Gohans, but usable Gohans, we have a good amount of both. And Buuhan actually has a lot of like good tools with it, and the energy cost to actually use him is really not that bad. I think what really happened, we moved from like Super Saiyan 3 into playing anything that we want, into very specific archetypes within the format, and as well as like viable things. And I think the problem with Buuhan is that it has a lot of outs to it as well. So you're kind of doing a lot in a combo deck in which like you're trying to get the awakening evil Majin Buu. You're trying to make sure that this guy, which for one energy, this new multicolored card, which is only going to get better by the way with set 9, with one energy, it's actually doing a lot for you. Plus is an evolved target for turn 2 to get this guy out, and then a Majin Buu, which again begs the question, why aren't people playing it? I think again, when we really think about it, this guy actually has to attack in order for it to have as much, you know, viability as it can. It also has to have the Gohan cards in the hand, and also can't you know, draw these cards, or actually the Buuhan or the other targets as well, into your hand, because it has to be in the deck. So there's a lot of different factors that, you know, when you're considering to play this, it has to be strong enough not to play something like Blue Green Ramp or Hachiyak or Broly or any of the new stuff that's coming out right now. And I think, you know, that's kind of the biggest issue. When you can chomp it, you can crush your ball it, you can do a number of things to stop the play. And then if you don't have the barrier Buu here and you don't play it underneath him, then it's just going to get removed the next turn, because there is a lot of easy removal now in the game. But again, I think it has actually a lot of tools. It has a lot of cool targets as well. We have the counter attack Majin Buu. Even if your leader card here, or basically if your leader card is here, as far as the Evil Wizard or Majin leader card, you can counterattack on their turn, and then you go ahead and just evolve on top of it with the Evil Awakening Majin Buu. But even if you don't have that, you can squat it, as in the 2-drop Desire, play it from your deck, and then go ahead and evolve onto it with 2 energy. So any Wish deck can do that for free, that has a free Black Desire, and then you can do that. Why aren't people doing that? Well, again, it has to be in the deck. It is susceptible to counterplays like Vegeta the Cruel, the Gohan, the Goku, and a couple others in which, you know, you can't really do anything about. You either have to play it again, or you waste the energy to do it. And then when Buuhan is out, is it ending games? Is it actually doing something to progress the game in a way that the other opponent is not doing? And do you have defensive options, which, you know, after you have the Buu out, are they going to swing at it at a 30k? I don't know, but you kind of get the idea for me, or from what I'm saying. And then we have the Majin Buus, like the 7-drop and the 8-drop, which the 8-drop is incredible. It's still a really good card. It's just not played because it kind of plays in, as well as just not, like, it's really tied to its archetype. A lot of people don't like playing within one archetype, and it doesn't end games very quickly. You have to kind of set up for it. The 7-drop Boo is still one of my favorite cards in the game, and I think it's damn good. Like, I can't say anything bad about that. I also fixed the screen, so sorry about that. On the right side, we have what can we make it better? So the question is, what can we actually do, or what can Bandai do to do that? I think having more options as far as Gohan targets, like usable Gohan targets like this guy and the one down here, in which will really take advantage of the dual attack, and as well as the choosing once per turn as far as the Gohan goes, would be really good. Critical, and then having 4 or less cards is okay. The critical is really good, but the ability Unleash Gohan is probably the best target for it, because you do get the use out of being able to choose to draw or double strike. But having another one like where you have both, or like you swing and then it removes a card on the field, or like something removes like it ignores barrier or something like that, those type of things where it just gives you more options and more effects. Like that kind of brings to the second point, and having very strong Gohan effects that answers the format. Things like Baby, things like Hachiyak, things of that nature will kind of help for that. And the colors that you do play within the Buhan archetype are red and blue, which is very, very generic. Like you can kind of splash either one of those within a lot of different decks as well. And we do have a similar Buhan, but with the flank. I know that we have the one in which your leader card is a Majin, and you untap, and then it has triple strike. But I think, having other Buhans, like the one that's tied to the blue Buhan, the energy one, is actually really good. But would I play it over the actual Buhan? I don't know. I don't think I would if I'm trying to focus on the red stuff. So I'm very interested in what we would have in the future if we ever do have that. But that's kind of my thoughts as far as that goes. Then we have the Ginyu Force. So this is kind of, there's not really much to talk about, right? Back in set 2, almost set 3. Set 3 was kind of like the peak of it, because we had Shigesh and everything else like that. But this has a problem as the last archetype I want to talk about, but in which people will find the leader, in which we do take a life, and Self Awakened was really good at that time. It was Yellow Leader with Shigesh. It had a lot of different things, but it wasn't playing the actual archetype, which was the Ginyu Force. And throughout the last, I would say 5 or 6 sets, we actually had some support here within the Helix Strike, Body Chains Ginyu, and a couple other things that supposedly would help Ginyu Force. And I think forever it would always be a casual deck, and the reason why is because most of these cards don't really have barrier. It's susceptible to like the 5-drop the 5-drop Vegeta, actually, a number of other counterplays, and a couple other things. And I think, yes, it is cool to swarm the board in order to end the game, but it kind of lacks like draw power. It lacks a number of other things. And yes, you can play this in Red Frieza. You might be able to play the yellow line in like Shenron still, in order to play the 2-3 drops, in order to play them for free. But my thing is that in order to make it better, more barrier cards or something that gives barrier for the Ginyu Force would be really good. More plays for free. Although we do have the 1-drop box game, but still. More plays for free, in which you can play things for free. We do have the spaceship that plays out a Frieza army, which is going to be any one of these guys. But it is kind of slow, and it is also part of RNG. If you had something that you can control, it would be really good. And then we have Ginyu Force extra cards, would kind of go into that Ginyu leader. If we had both of those that really tied all of the archetype together, it'd be really good. And then we also have cards to play on their turn. We really don't have any. You can play a yellow leader and play like Bardock's and stuff, but that's really about it. And then draw focus Ginyu Force, so in which not only you're playing stuff for free or playing it on the board, but you also gaining a card. So like when you play this card, you draw 1 card, or you do this, you do that, or you get this and you get one from your deck, whatever it may be. Then we're moving on to the Universe 9 dogs. So this had like a small stint, and it kind of went up and down as far as like Super Saiyan Blue, Mono Blue, Super Saiyan Mono Blue Super Saiyan 3 mono blue, there you go. And then we also had ramp. I almost died hitting my table there. We also had a ramp like Shenron ramp, in which like the Bergamo kind of made its return. Then people remember that, you know, it doesn't have barrier if it's alone, and you have to play the entire line. Which again, the issue with this line is that yes, this right here, and as well as the 1-drop extra card, is really good because it shuts down a lot of different things. But you have to play them on the field, and it only gets barrier if the Bergamo and all the other boys are on there. Plus the supporting cast, like the 3-drops here, are very, very cool. Like I honestly really love the 3-drops. But again, with the introduction and counterplays and the direction where the game is going, it doesn't survive and it doesn't stay there, right? It's really good to ramp here. It's really good to free play here, but for 3 energy for both, and you could whiff here, and you could play something that's very underwhelming here, and it's not really worth it. And that's kind of the problem with a lot of these archetypes, which when you play the energy and you go for it, it's not very much worth it, and it really suffers from power creep. Same thing for Hop, same thing for Sidra. What would make it better is, you know, cost reduction for the Wolf Boys. Everything gets -1 for a new field card, so like it has the same effect as the last one, or like a new Bergamo that gets a cost reduction, that type of thing. And then more Universe 9 generic support. The amount that Universe 6 is getting as far as the generic support within its colors and as well as this tags is probably what Universe 9 needs. And then again, same thing with the Universe 9 leader, and then more free play. And I think that the issue is that, you know, Bergamo and as well as Universe 9 in general isn't very, like, it doesn't sell, like just like how action figures and things like that, we kind of look at that in a different way when it comes to cards. Like when people look at a certain archetype or a certain character, they want to buy the cards in order to do that, like in order to play that archetype or whatever we have for that within the game, basically. And Bandai knows this, and it's not so much of like they're not going to make it because of that reason, but I know that that's going to be a good factor for it. And I don't think, especially since this was a theme booster for Tournament Power, which is out of print now, I don't know if this is actually going to get support in the future. And now the last one, which is Namekians. So I honestly do not know how to make Namekians good. There are so many different lines, and like if you look up Namekians in DBS X or Shenron's Lair and you just type in Namekian or you look up the tag, even on the website, you will see like 3 or 4 or 5 different pages worth of Namekians. And it's just like you kind of pick and choose like 2 or 3 of them, where this card, the 4-drop Piccolo from the draft box, and a couple others are good, right? And then everything else is just not worth playing, again, versus other things that you could be playing for that same energy or within that same color, basically. So I think not only that this suffers from a really terrible keyword, which is bond, but also very underwhelming finishers and as well as super rares, in which this guy's a rare, this guy's a super rare. Both of these are good within its own respect, but it's not worth all of the trouble to get to that point, in which this is 4 energy, in which this needs a couple or a number of other things to play in order to get that going. And I think Life or Death Nail is still pretty good. It's just I don't think people would actually play it, like, because it's just, you know, it's, you have to set up for it and you have to commit to that. And then leaders are like Dende, the Dende Shinron leader is actually still pretty good in my eyes. Like I think it's sort of like tier 3, tier 2. And the issue with this is that it doesn't even play the archetype itself. It plays Frieza, and that kind of tells you what this really is, you know, like that should tell you something, right? And the Piccolo has the terrible keyword bond built into it, which in order for it to even be effective, needs it for, you know, for it to proc off or to be active. I think going into the stuff that could make it better is, you know, having a specified leader that is for both colors, like a multicolored leader like green yellow that gives support to old archetypes. So not just one of the yellows, not just the green, but both of them, and to actually make it viable, make it a decently fast type of leader, and also make the you know, like 2 or less costs on the front side, 3 or less costs on the back side, that type of thing. A field card that removes the bond requirement, or something that is more a viable free play, not Planet Namek, would be really good. And then maybe even a field card or something else, like another like Piccolo or kami or something that gains or gives every Namekian barrier on the field, and maybe even a completely new keyword for Namekians, not bond. When I'm talking about like offering, I'm talking about like arrival, those type of things in which, you know, you can only play these things that are tied to the Namekian tag. And I think really that's pretty much it. Like I can't really think of, like, they have so many cards within the archetype, and it applies the same thing to Buhan as well. But those are kind of my thoughts. I'm really curious of what you guys think. I really want to hear that in the comments below. Do you want me to continue these? There's a lot of different archetypes I can kind of talk about and what my thoughts are. I really do enjoy this. So let me know in the comments below. Subscribe if you're new. Join the sponsorships. I'd be really happy if you did. And I'll see you in the next one. Later.